Time is not your friend. It moves indifferent, merciless, unbothered by your excuses. It doesn't care about your fears, your fatigue, your hesitation. Time has no sympathy for the ones who wait, but if you listen closely, if you lean into the silence, you'll hear it whisper a brutal truth. No one is coming to save you, not luck, not circumstance, not the perfect moment. You are the hero you've been waiting for, and every moment you hesitate is a moment someone else seizes, someone with less talent but more courage, someone with fewer resources but more hunger, someone who decided that unstoppable isn't a trait, it's a decision. This is the year where decisions separate the remembered from the forgotten, and if you want to be remembered, if you want to be felt by the world, not just seen, not just heard, then it starts with mastering your mind, because nothing else lives if your mindset is dying. Nothing grows when the soil of your mind is poisoned by doubt, distraction, and the disease of comparison. Napoleon Hill understood this. He didn't write Think and Grow Rich as a guide to money. He wrote it as a blueprint for the mind, because when the mind is right, the world bends to it. But when the mind is weak, no opportunity survives. You have to fortify the fortress of your thoughts. You have to guard the gates of your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Every empire, every revolution, every breakthrough first lived as a thought, one single, defiant, audacious thought that said, "What if I don't quit? What if I keep going? What if I'm the one?" And belief. Belief is the spark that turns those thoughts into fire. But belief doesn't come for free. It's not something you're born with. It's built every time you choose action over excuse, every time you silence the inner critic with evidence of your effort. Thomas Edison didn't believe the light bulb was possible because he read it in a book. He believed because after every failed attempt, and there were thousands, he stacked proof that he was closer. Proof builds belief. If you don't believe in yourself today, it's because you haven't given yourself enough proof to trust. Belief is like a muscle. It doesn't grow without resistance. It demands that you wake up when comfort tells you to sleep, that you speak life into your dreams when the world wants to bury them under realism, that you move forward 1 inch, 1 mile, even when your bones ache and your mind screams stop. But belief alone is a blunt instrument. It needs precision. It needs clarity. Clarity is the difference between the wanderer and the warrior. A wanderer moves because movement feels like progress. A warrior moves because every step is toward a purpose. Andrew Carnegie didn't just want wealth, he saw an empire of steel before it existed. Walt Disney didn't just imagine cartoons. He envisioned worlds, castles, experiences that felt like magic. Their clarity was so vivid it became reality. Because when your vision is clear, the path reveals itself. You stop chasing trends and start chasing destiny. You stop looking for shortcuts because you understand. This is your road. It wasn't meant to be easy. It was meant to be yours. And that vision, that clarity births something sacred. Purpose. Purpose is the gravity that keeps you grounded when storms rage. It's the flame that refuses to be extinguished, even when life dumps oceans on your dreams. Lincoln didn't endure a fractured nation, personal losses, and political defeats because he liked pain. He did it because his purpose was bigger than his suffering. Freedom, unity, a nation that would outlive his name. If you don't know why you're waking up at a.m., if you don't know why you're pushing beyond exhaustion, you will quit the moment the pain comes, because pain without purpose feels like punishment, but pain with purpose, that's just the price of greatness. And purpose needs a keeper. That keeper is discipline. Forget motivation. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the furnace. It keeps burning long after the mood is gone. Henry Ford didn't build the assembly line because he felt motivated. He built it because he was disciplined enough to stare at inefficiency, day after day, until a better way emerged. Discipline is boring. It's repetitive. It's the same grind, the same habits, the same sweat until the world changes because you didn't. But discipline without motion is just self-imposed torture. You must act. Action is the sword that cuts through the fog of procrastination. You don't need to know the whole path. You just need to move one call, 1 hour, one brick in the cathedral of your future, and you keep moving even when the applause fades, even when no one sees you, because success doesn't come to the loudest, it comes to the most consistent chunk for, but the road is longer than you think, and without gratitude, that road becomes a prison. Gratitude keeps your heart alive while your hands are building. It's the whisper that says, "Look how far you've come," even when the summit is hidden in the clouds. Without gratitude, you'll win the battle, but lose your soul. You'll hit the milestone but feel nothing, because if you don't appreciate the journey, the destination will never be enough. Gratitude sharpens your senses. It teaches you to see lessons where others see losses. To find strength in scars. To recognize that every failure carved out a deeper capacity for growth. Edison's factory burned to the ground, and instead of despair, he said, "Thank God all our mistakes were burned up. Now we can start anew." That's not just perspective, that's power, and to wield power in a world that's changing by the second, you must adapt. Adaptability isn't weakness, it's the highest form of intelligence. The stubborn drown, the flexible evolve. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix. Kodak ignored digital cameras. Both are tombstones now, because they refused to bend with the winds of change. To be unstoppable, you must become water, like Bruce Lee said. Flow, bend, reshape, but never break. And when life hits harder than you imagined, you rely on resilience. Resilience is your refusal to die quietly. It's the silent midnight promise that no matter how many times life buries you, you will rise dirtier, stronger, wiser. Lincoln buried a son and still led a nation. Disney faced betrayal, bankruptcy, and still dreamed louder. You too are made of that same defiance, but only if you choose to be. And when resilience becomes your nature, learning becomes your shield, because the person who refuses to learn is already dead, they're just waiting to be buried. Every defeat, every setback, every painful rejection, these are not curses. They're teachers. They're shaping you, molding you, chiseling away your weakness, leaving only the unbreakable steel beneath. Napoleon Hill studied the greats Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, and do you know what united them? They were students long before they were masters. They studied people, markets, systems, themselves. They devoured knowledge with the hunger of the desperate and the discipline of a monk. Carnegie built his fortune not because he was the smartest man in the room, but because he made sure the smartest minds worked with him. Ford revolutionized industry not because he was the best engineer, but because he knew how to apply principles faster than anyone else. And Rockefeller, he studied money, markets, and human nature until he could predict them like the seasons. You must become obsessed with learning not as a hobby, but as a necessity for survival, because the day you stop learning is the day the world passes you by. There is always someone studying harder, grinding smarter, preparing while you sleep. If you don't evolve, you will evaporate, and learning doesn't just mean books. It means listening, really listening to the world. To feedback, to your own failures. It means adjusting, refining, upgrading yourself like a weapon being honed for battle. You have to see yourself as a living, breathing project under constant construction, because when you combine a mind obsessed with growth, with a heart anchored in gratitude, and hands driven by discipline, you become unstoppable. Not because the world bends to you, but because you've bent yourself to become the kind of person the world cannot ignore. And yet, there's still more. To sustain this journey, to keep your spirit from fracturing under the weight of dreams not yet fulfilled, you need vision. Not the vision you scribbled in a notebook once, but a living, breathing, evolving vision that lives in your bones. Vision is your lighthouse. It stands tall even when the sea is black and the storm is howling. It's the image in your mind so vivid, so detailed that you can feel it before you touch it. When your muscles ache, when your bank account is empty, when your friends vanish, vision is what keeps your feet moving. Walt Disney saw Disneyland in his mind when all he had was rejection, letters, and empty pockets. Steve Jobs saw the iPhone when the world still held bricks to their ears. They saw what could be, not what was. You have to ask yourself, what is your vision? Can you describe it so clearly that if you closed your eyes right Now you could walk through it like a home you've lived in your entire life. Because if you can't see it, you'll never build it, and if your vision doesn't scare you, it's too small. Dreams that don't stretch you will never strengthen you. You need a vision so magnetic, so electrifying, that it pulls you forward when your legs forget how to walk. But even with vision, you'll face walls, obstacles designed to test the sincerity of your ambition. That's when faith comes in. Not religious faith, but an unshakable belief in the unseen, the not yet, the possible. Faith is knowing that even though you can't yet see the staircase, you take the first step anyway. Martin Luther King Jr. called it that. And it's what separates the almost successful from the inevitable. Because faith keeps you climbing when the evidence hasn't caught up yet. When no one believes, when the bank says no, when the critics laugh, when the mirror reflects nothing but exhaustion, faith whispers, keep going. The future is still listening, and it is. The future is listening, it's watching, and it will reward the ones who refuse to stop speaking life into their vision. But faith alone won't get you there. You must act relentlessly every day, every hour, every moment is a brick, a call, a choice, a sacrifice. You don't get to wish your way to greatness. You work your way there. You wake up before the doubt has a chance to wake with you. You stay up after the fear has gone to sleep. Action is the great separator. Everyone wants it. Few are willing to bleed for it. Everyone posts the quotes, shares the reels, hashtags the grind, but few will do what it actually takes when the cameras are off. You have to move when it's uncomfortable, speak when your voice trembles, show up when the room is empty, because the process doesn't care about your feelings and success. Success is loyal only to the consistent. You will fail, you will stumble, you will question yourself so deeply it feels like drowning, but drown in effort, drown in attempts, drown in your willingness to try again, because every failure is a favor in disguise, every no is just the universe testing your readiness for yes. But most people stop just before the yes. They quit at the 99th try, never knowing the 100th was the breakthrough. Not you, not this time. You don't stop because the path is hard. You keep going because it's hard, because you're not here to live soft, to die unknown, to be a footnote in someone else's story. You are here to write the story.to, live it so boldly that even your failures inspire. And when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, the noise fades, they will say of you, that one was unstoppable.